We're here to do a podcast.
Yeah.
It's witchcraft.
Hey, it's 4:20 a.m. Hi, and welcome to episode 34 of the Stoned Witches Hour. On this podcast, two best friends on opposite coasts of the USA tell each other spine-tingling tales of terror from their half of the country while smoking some of the sweetest, trichome-coated, THC-laden, green goddess ganja that all the cultivators in good old America can grow.
I can't believe all that just came out of your mouth so clear.
Well, I've been smoking on some fabulous Tropicana cherries. We'll get to that in a second. Being apparently very articulate today, I'm Laylla.
And I apparently am very high and can hardly keep up with her articulations, but I'm Chelle. East Coast, the ghosty coast, the best coast.
That's right. You were going to start saying you're the ghosty coast.
I'm the ghosty coast.
Well, I have decided for this episode, I'm going to try and top your ghostiness.
Yeah, right.
And I have another cursed location, haunted location, house of horrible history that now has hauntings. I'm not sure.
Well, I think I can still outdo you because I have a multi-war used fort.
Ooh.
And this little old fort we're going to talk about goes all the way back to being used with George Washington and his regiment. So top that.
Oh, so you got a little bit of a history lesson thrown in there. Well, schools around the country have either already started or are underway. So maybe your little history ghost story will be popular. Mine's more fun, less school-like. I'm going to the Lion House in Montana. Yeah, it's got a cool name, right?
I just have this picture of like the red Welsh lion.
They're big stone lions, but close.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. What's something fun that we have heard in the news lately? Anything good or fun or Halloweeny or come on, there's got to be something good in the news. Anything awesome?
I don't know. I mean, the big talk around the town here is we are 27 days out from Hocus Pocus 2 being released on Disney Plus, and most folks in the greater Salem area are like, it's like the second coming of Jesus.
So people are pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Little bit.
So when I am at my daytime job, I do actually have to go into the office a couple of days a week. Bummer. I am starting to see folks walking downtown throughout the day, dressed as the Sanderson Sisters. It has begun. Great costumes, though. Like, these people go all out. Like, they're hardcore fans. And I can't even imagine. They're doing Salem. The city of Salem is doing a free showing of this movie in the Common. I can't remember the date. You'll have to Google it. People like they don't just show up, like they dress up. It reminds me of Rocky Horror. Honestly,
I love it.
You have this like Rocky Horror vibe, but Hocus Pocus.
Now, if you were a Sanderson sister, which Sanderson sister would you be?
That's hard because I think I embody some of each of them.
There's got to be a quiz.
Yeah, there has to be a quiz. I guess, I don't know, because I don't know. I guess I'd have to say Sarah just because I have blonde hair. Because I do embody a piece of each of them. I would be the one riding the vacuum somewhere. But
right, me too.
Doing that, dancing around like some crazed hippie who is like kind of airheady sometimes, but yet get me in a moment and bitch city USA. So yeah, kind of all of them, really.
I go back and I agree, definitely. I mean, they're all like the three sides of any woman, right? You've got the know-it-all, the I am in charge side. You've got, the slutty, sexy, get into trouble side. And then, you got your little bit goofy, but occasionally right on the nose side.
sometimes clueless.
That's right. So we're all a little Winifred, a little Sarah, a little Mary, all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like the fourth sister who's like all of them together.
So if you're going to dress up as one of them, which would you dress as?
The slutty one. Definitely Sarah. Definitely Sarah.
Right. I would probably be Winifred. I would dress as Winifred.
I honestly, I just don't think I could pull off the wig for Winifred.
I know. I love it. That crazy red up top hair. I could totally do that. Or Mary. I would love either of those costumes. Mary, I just adore.
The Mary one, I think also I would have a problem with the wig piece. Whereas the Sarah one, I could just kind of go au naturel and not even
That's
have to
right.
wear
Just your pretty blonde hair just flowing down. And yeah. So I don't know. I guess I would have to decide if I was either on my goofy side, in which case I would be Mary, or if I was on my uptight asshole bitch witch side, and then it'd be Winifred.
Just depends on the mood at the moment.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. So there are actually quizzes. Oh, here, this one's kind of fun. So this BuzzFeed one. Are you ready, Chelle? You're going to take this quiz.
Okay, I'm going to take it. Let's see.
All right. As a witch, you aim to be vain, cruel, or liked.
Vain, cruel, or liked?
Yeah, terrible answers, but of those three, which would you pick?
All of them, but if I have to go with one, I guess I'm going to go with liked.
There you go.
So we all just want to be loved.
Which of these colors is the most bewitching? Blood orange, deep violet, or emerald green?
Emerald green. Green is my favorite color, hands down. Didn't even have to think about it.
There you go. Which of these powers do you desire most? The ability to cast spells, the ability to fly, or the ability to enchant people?
Spells, hands down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What is your ideal mode of transportation? The bus, walking, or a broom, of course?
A broom, of course.
Which of these Disney witches do you like the best? Ursula, Maleficent, or the Evil Queen?
The Evil Queen.
That's my girl. What is your what is your weapon of choice? Electrokinesis, casting a spell, or hypnosis?
Casting a spell.
Yeah, it was a tough one between hypnosis and casting a spell, but I think casting a spell wins hands down there.
I was kind of thinking which one had more diversity, and I think casting a spell is more diverse than hypnosis.
I agree. What is your best trait? I'm playful, I'm smart, or I'm loyal?
I'm loyal.
What do you dislike the most? Being called ugly, being rejected, or getting old?
Rejected.
What is your biggest weakness, Chelle? Is it men, food, or your short temper?
My short temper.
I knew that one. And how would you seek revenge? You don't need to take revenge. You take it however you're told, or by trying to inflict the most amount of pain possible.
Go big or go home.
That's right.
Go big or go home.
What witch's accessory could you not live without? A book of spells, a cauldron, or a broom?
Book of spells. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Your biggest fear is others disapproving of me, failure, or losing your looks.
Failure. Losing your looks sounds so vain.
You are Winifred. You're a
Really?
you're a natural born leader with great powers, but also highly sensitive.
The damn wig.
Right? Now you got to wear the wig. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah, but isn't she the one who wears the green dress? I do like green.
She is. You would look fabulous in that dress, I would say. You definitely would. So there you have it. That's, according to BuzzFeed, that's which Sanderson sister you are.
Well, I am going to have to go around and walk around town this week, somehow being all Winifred-like.
There you go. Wear a nice green. Don't you have a green dress somewhere?
I do. And, the thing is I'd fit in and no one would even look at me.
There you go. No one would look twice. They'd think you were fantastic. But I love that movie. It's a lot of fun. My kids call it Hocus Pocus season because we always get ready to, we try to not watch that movie until October. And then we can watch it as much as we want, but we can't watch it until October 1st.
The thing is that now you're going to have like marathons. We're getting into the Hocus Pocus marathon now. So you're going to have to like start watching the first one,
Mm-hmm.
Gear yourself up for release date of number 2. And then once you've watched it and seen how great it is, then for the whole month of October, you're just going to have to keep watching them back to back over and over.
Right. Exactly. That's what we're going to do. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a lot of scary movies. We love to watch scary movies, and we're going to have to watch We All Pod down here and see if we can find some scary movies, new ones for this season, but definitely like to watch. I love Coraline. I love
Corpse Bride.
Corpse Bride.
Corpse Bride. One of my favorites, Nightmare Before Christmas. Love it. And then, of course, folks like us, how can you forget the great pumpkin Charlie Brown?
Oh, who doesn't love that? How sweet. Yeah, the classics. You got to watch all of them. But yeah, it's just a good season. I will admit that on September 1st, I started decorating for Halloween.
Yeah, it kind of, and you know what's so weird is here in Massachusetts, on September 1st, it was a little bit cooler and that wind just was a little bit crisper. Like it literally felt like fall that day.
Yeah, we were kayaking the other day and I saw some leaves changing. So I know it's coming.
The time has arrived.
That's right. You can start to feel it. Southern California right now is baking under a heat wave, but everybody else, you can start to feel that little hint of fall coming through. But yeah, I put out some purple lights out front. I started putting up my pumpkins inside. And on the equinox is when I'll start to go crazy with everything.
That's what I love about living in the Northeast. It's almost like a domino effect. One leaf in the whole Northeast changes and they all start to change.
Yeah, this time of year you start to get those first little hints, that first little smell. Something starts to smell like fall, even before Mabin.
Corn is starting to be like 4 or 5 feet tall, which if you know corn, that just means it's about ready. And corn means fall. Like all the pieces are falling into place for it. And then, of course, it doesn't help that Dunkin' Donuts. Do you know that they said September 1st is the beginning of pumpkin spice season? I didn't know that A, there was a season, and B, that it had a specific start date, September 1st.
I like pumpkin pie. And I like pumpkin spice, but I am not a fan of pumpkin spice everything. There's pumpkin spice ramen noodles. There's clothing that's imbued with pumpkin spice smell.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I love incense and oil and, those oil diffusers and all of that, but I can't do sweet smells. Mm-hmm. Anything that has like a sugar or a sweet or pumpkin spice is too much. Gives me a headache. I can't do it.
You know what I like this time of year? Boiling oranges, like orange slices and cinnamon.
Oh, I love that. Or like mulling spices for mulled cider. Mm-hmm. Just boiling some of that on a stovetop. I love that. Add some orange peel. I just add such a nice little touch.
There's something about orange boiling that is fabulous.
Oh, yeah. And it's great for cleansing your space too, magically and by a scent.
But it just gives you that fall vibe in your house. Like your whole house just starts to smell like fall and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, if you're not up for like baking some zucchini bread or pumpkin bread, then just boiling some spices on your stovetop is enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's almost like, think of it as like a air freshener.
What's the first thing you like to pull out when you think it's the fall season, Chelle? What's your first thing?
The first thing I do is I go and I go re-up as soon as they start putting in the grocery stores. You know how they have the cinnamon scented broomsticks?
Oh, I love those.
I don't know what my fascination is with those, but the minute you can get a cinnamon scented broomstick in the grocery store, that's usually kind of like, because they don't last very long, the scent. So then when I see it, I'll buy one, throw away last year's, put up a brand new one, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. Once I get that scented broomstick, it just snowballs.
I do something similar. If I can find one, not too expensive because there's gorgeous ones out there, but door wreaths.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the natural fall type door wreaths. Yeah. And if I can get one, I try to get one like made of dried flowers or something really cool like that, particularly if it has eucalyptus in it. I know that's not really like a fall scent, but that's one of my favorite scents.
It's all what you connect with.
Right. And if you put that into a nice wreath with some little gourds and some dried flowers and dried lavender and that type of thing, I love those, especially on my door. And you get a little bit of that scent of the hay and the lavender and the eucalyptus. I enjoy that quite a bit. So if I can find one inexpensively that someone has made nearby, or if I can make one out of things of my own, that's what I really, it says fall to me when my door is decorated.
My problem is as much as I find those beautiful, they are beautiful. Do not get me wrong, but they bring about the sneezies in me. So as much as they are beautiful to me, I do sometimes shy away from them because they trigger my allergies.
Yeah, and that can be a real problem this time of year, you know.
I mean, you said the hay, and the minute you said the hay, I was like, so pretty. Ooh, it makes me want to sneeze just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes I like more boiling the stuff because it lessens the allergen factor.
I do see in the stores that Halloween is in full swing.
Boy, is it.
I mean, man, are they starting early? The only complaint I have is the Halloween candy. It's everywhere. And
Now,
who is going to buy Halloween candy 2 months in advance and still have it on Halloween?
Now, two things. One, here in the greater Salem, Massachusetts area, Halloween stuff's been coming out since mid-August.
Right, right.
And second, I am guilty of, I have bought Halloween candy already, but that Halloween candy will not be making it to October 31st.
No, I don't know anyone who can buy Halloween candy 2 months, 2 weeks ahead of time and have it still be there.
I don't know if what I'm going to buy is going to last through the day, to be honest.
Right, right. Especially like those pumpkin Reese's.
Oh my God. Oh,
so good.
Well,
do they use a different kind of peanut butter or something? Like, what's up with that?
I love something that I am going to get hardcore judged by not just you, but every listener we have.
I know what you're going to say. I'm shaking my head already.
I love candy corn.
No, I knew you were going to say that.
I love candy corn. I don't even care.
Yeah, judging.
You know what else?
Judging. Absolutely judging.
You know what else I love? I also love circus peanuts. They're like that orange hard marshmallow thing.
Yeah, you probably eat Peeps too. So.
Oh my God, I love Peeps.
Yeah.
I'm that person. But yeah, I love candy corn.
You. No, I do like the candy though. I'll admit anything that's got like that peanut butter or caramel, or they've been coming out with stuff that like that Take 5 bar that has pretzels and caramel and chocolate.
But see, now we're getting into caramel apple season. Nothing beats a good caramel apple.
Especially on the East Coast. West Coast apples I found are different than East Coast apples. They are not as good.
How? Oh, they're not?
No, they're not. I think you need that cold snap. You know, I think you need that cold New York, upstate, East Coast kind of thing in order to get a nice crispy apple.
Similar to maple syrup.
Possibly. But it's just not the same. They don't taste the same.
Well, I guess you'll have to make a trip to the old southern tier to get your some caramel apples.
We'll stop on the way through because come hell or high water, I am coming out there this weekend.
You better.
Well, before we get started, what are you smoking on over there in Massachusetts, Chelle?
So I am actually smoking the rest of some melon baller. I've had this before. It's very good. I think it's more of the relaxy than the go crazy cleaning and get my stuff done. But, you know, hey, everybody needs a relaxing afternoon and evening.
I like a good relaxy high. I'm currently smoking on, I went out and I bought some new weed.
Ooh.
Just wanted to try something a little bit, you know, different. I get bored, like, you know, even though I'm trying to save money, I do get a little bit bored with what I'm smoking. And it seems like there's a lot of runts. Have you noticed that things seem to kind of go in a
like a wave? Yeah.
Like there's a lot of cookies, or then there's a lot of, you know, some type of white widow
or some type of haze
or some type of runts is now popular. For a little while, everything was kind of black this, black that. There was a lot of ices. Now I'm getting a lot of cherries. Of cherries. So right now I'm smoking some Tropicana cherries. It's a sativa hybrid. And this just has me feeling really happy, very upbeat. It's definitely a very cerebral high, and it does have a very sweet flavor, Chelle.
I was going to ask you if it had like any sort of sweet, fruity flavor.
It does. It tastes very, very sweet. It has a definite sweet intake when I hit it. It's just, it has this kind of purple pinkish red look to it. It's very, very pretty. So it's definitely a upbeat high. I'm trying to see if I can find what the THC on it is.
That's always important to me,
So how is yours tasting? Does it taste very good or?
It does taste good. I wouldn't give it any sort of fruity or melon type flavor, but I don't know, it tastes like good weed. I will say this, I had smoked some of it and I had been near a non-smoker who said I kind of smelled like a skunk.
Really?
Actually, what they said is they thought there was a skunk around, and I was like, "Oh no, that's me."
Yeah, it happens. Hey, you gotta watch out for that, So, all right. So my nice sweet Tropicana cherries is, it's just around a 22% THC. So kind of just a good, happy, get things done high. Nothing that's gonna really have you shooting for the stratosphere or anything. It's just a very, very pleasant taste. It's very sweet, pleasant. Good stuff. So now that we know that we're both smoking something kind of happy and mellow, let's get all scary and spooky with our stories.
Ooh, I sometimes get really fascinated about how there's so many abandoned forts in the United States because there's a lot,
particularly on the East Coast. I think there's a lot that happened over there.
Well, a lot of them were built to kind of fight off the British. That's why. So like where we're going to go today, this evening, is we're going to go to Fort Mifflin. Fort Mifflin is right on the outskirts of Philadelphia. So as you can imagine, Philadelphia is kind of where all the action was for the Revolutionary War. So Fort Mifflin was commissioned in 1771. And it was, for some reason, considered one of the most terrifying places in America.
Really? I wonder why.
Well,
did they torture people there, like prisoners of war or something?
Well, hundreds of Revolutionary War, because like I said, this was a multi-war use facility. So, hundreds of Revolutionary War soldiers were killed during the battle at the fort. Years later, thousands of Civil War soldiers wasted away from starvation and disease, locked away because it was created as a prison during that time period. So, between it serving as a active fort that saw a battle in one war, it then turned into a prison in the next war. So there's no shortage
recycling of the shit.
Right. There's no shortage of death and despair at this place.
Right.
And honestly, this was the most interesting fact I found because, it's not like I'm chasing down Revolutionary War history by any means, right. But I found out that Fort Mifflin is one of the last surviving Revolutionary War battlefields.
Really?
Yeah. Who knew? Honestly, I would have thought there were older places, but yeah, no, this is it. They actually host a paranormal program and they give visitors a chance to sleep with the ghosts. We should go sleep at a fort in Pennsylvania.
You can go camp out there, like sleep overnight and do ghost hunts?
Yeah, what I read is that they give visitors the chance to sleep with the ghosts.
Oh, creepy.
Now, there's a couple of specific ghosts that I found about, and we'll get into in a few minutes. One is called the Faceless Man.
That does not sound good.
Well, the other one's called the Screaming Woman.
Ew, maybe she saw the Faceless Man.
A lot of actually... The Screaming Woman and the Faceless Man.
Right? I would scream if I saw a Faceless Man. I mean...
Would she die of fright or something?
Maybe. That's me. That would be me. I would be screaming, and I would die of fright because of the Faceless Man.
But there's actually been paranormal investigators that have claimed... Now, everybody claims this, and we've heard this tale before.
Is it a gate to hell, or is it the most haunted fort in America?
Are you being like psychic Laylla today? So, first of all, Fort Mifflin is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the world.
Yeah. Okay, I was close.
And I don't know if you ever heard of this show. Have you ever heard of a show that was on, I can't even remember what it was on. It was called Portals to Hell, and it had
No.
Jack Osborne, Ozzy's kid was
Oh,
the
yeah.
host.
Yeah, was it one where he went around to like scary
Yeah.
places and like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Hey, Jack, if you want to be on our show, dude, would love to have you.
So Jack Osborne took his show Portals to Hell to Fort Mifflin. So
Cool. Did they find anything? What did they hear? Ooh.
actually, they felt that it was definitely completely full of paranormal activity. They actually brought in some other ghost hunters after the fact. They thought that there was definitely a lot of active areas there. Something about seeing glowing eyes and shifting shadows.
Question, is it a stone fort?
Yes, yes. Typical of that era. You know, when you
I
look
think
at
there's something with stone. I really do. We keep running into this. This isn't really a theory that I had before I started doing all this research and telling stories with you, Chelle, but I think there's something with stone, and this stone fort, having seen so much death and so much strife and war, I'm very not surprised.
I will say though that at least half the structure is brick.
Okay, that's all right.
But I mean, brick is essentially a type. I see what you're saying, but yes,
Yeah.
it is a structure of that nature. But there is definitely something going on there. I mean, they've had all kinds of famous investigators there. Even CBS3 out of Philadelphia did a whole story about
Wow.
what's in there, and they basically say that there's experiences morning, noon, and night. They've had overnight guests leave in the middle of the night. They have
They
had
couldn't hack sleeping with the ghosts.
couldn't handle it, and they have one of your favorite types of activity there.
There's orbs.
There are orbs.
Fuck yes, let's go. I'm there. Let's go take pictures. I'm setting up cameras. We're going to have them in all the hallways. That's cool. Fucking cool.
Pretty much every paranormal team that has visited there, they have captured orbs of light. They've gotten glimpses of apparitions behind door frames. They've recorded disembodied voices.
Ooh.
Visitors often see soldiers cleaning their guns.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
sad. Kind of like the whole going to work every day ghost, that one where they just kind of replay the same thing over and over again.
Sometimes visitors will catch whiffs of like bread that was freshly baked, or like a wood fire when there's no fires in the area.
Oh, wow.
But again, like I said, all times of the day and night, you can randomly just hear something that sounds like a woman screaming. They're not sure. They can't necessarily track it back to a particular woman that was there.
It's like the scream of every woman to find out that her son, her lover, her husband, her father has died.
Absolutely, that could be.
You know, it's like that banshee, not a banshee necessarily, because they pretend a future death, but it's like the collective scream of sorrow, you know?
Yeah.
Or I'm just high.
No, it totally could be, but people claim to have been touched, pushed, pulled. I mean, like there's activity there.
Yeah.
So this faceless guy, they see his apparition roaming through the property in Civil War attire. So they can see that he's wearing like Civil War attire, but has no face.
That's fucking creepy.
The part that freaks me out. It ain't the ghost itself. It's the fact that you have no face.
Right. Where's his face? Why the fuck doesn't he have his face? What is up with that? Is he like, okay, if I'm being existential with the screaming woman, is he like the faceless unknown soldier? Like, is he the archetype for soldiers everywhere? Or is he some sort of fucking demon with no face?
Well, let me tell you about who they think it is.
Oh, shit.
Many people believe that the faceless man is the spirit belongs to a William H. Howe. Howe was notoriously executed at the fort during the Civil War.
Oh, shit. What was he executed for?
Well, some ghost hunters are quick to paint him as a treacherous, murdering outlaw, and they claim his spirit is an evil force that stalks the fort ruins for vengeance. So they don't think the faceless man is a good ghost.
No, stalking it for vengeance. He was killed because he was like a murderous dickhead or something, and now he's like still there being all creepy in the afterlife.
Now, see, this is where you get conflicting stories because that is called the legend of the faceless man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found something else in different research that was called the true story of the faceless man. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, and then you can kind of figure out which one you might want to go with.
Okay.
What I found to be the quote unquote true story of the faceless man, they still think it's William H. Howe. That's not into dispute. But he was a 25-year-old who was in the Union Army, and they thought he was very courageous type person. But they think that he actually came down with dysentery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I know that from the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, right?
Didn't everyone get dysentery?
Everyone, yeah, dysentery was exactly, you were either running out of food or getting that in Oregon Trail, pretty much. So that was really kind of one of the number one killers of all Civil War soldiers. Some people believe that he was just a 25-year-old Union soldier that basically died of dysentery, whereas the legend paints him as some treacherous murdering outlaw.
Why doesn't he have a face, though? Okay, so you're just some random soldier that had the bad luck to not wash your hands or drink bad water and die of dysentery. And why don't you have a face? I mean, you're just a ghost. Ghosts have faces.
I never found out why he doesn't have a face. That's just how he's described in Civil War clothing with no face.
I'm sorry. He had to have done. No, I'm more inclined to believe the murderous asshole theory because you're just a regular dude who died from shitting yourself to death. You're going to have a face. Your ghost will have a face. I mean, you might have crappy drawers, but you're going to have a face. Maybe he's too embarrassed. Maybe he's too embarrassed to show his face because he shit himself to death.
Wouldn't you?
Well, maybe. I mean, we've all had accidents. I mean, come on. Everyone has had some sort of terrible accident in their past, I'm sure. But not me. I'm sure everyone else.
I was wondering if maybe, because of what happened there, who's to say you didn't get your face shot off?
True. Good point. Who's to say what ghost it? I mean, had to have been hundreds of people that they could choose from that would be the ghost. Well, but remember, if all these ghost hunters are getting some sort of malevolent feeling from it, I would be inclined to think it was probably someone who had malevolent intent in life.
Well, remember, like I said, this fort was used to hold off the British fleet after Washington's army was defeated at Brandywine. So that's where the start was. The fact that it was used during the Civil War, we all know the Civil War was just some brutal, brutal stuff. But they used that in World War II as well. They didn't stop with the Civil War using it. It was used in World War I and World War II as well.
Right. So now you have 3, and 3 is a shitty number, particularly when you're talking about things like murder and bloodshed. If you get that, triple in a space, what are those stones holding on to?
Right. And, the thing is, you turn it into a hospital as well. And not only do you have the people who were killed in battle.
Oh, no. Then you got suffering.
Now you have suffering, which could go back to the screaming woman. Yeah. Maybe she was a nurse. Maybe she was a wife or a sister or a mother who was there in someone's last moments. It's just, there's a lot there. And it seems like other than the screaming woman, all of the apparitions, the disembodied voices, all of that, are all men. All the apparitions are usually soldiery in some form or fashion.
Makes sense. I mean, that's what it saw. That's what was there. Like the few women would have been, like you said, like the occasional nurse at that time, right, or possibly a relative who had come to collect someone or who had come to visit someone at the hospital.
Now, there are people, though, who claim that you might hear children playing around, and that there has been an apparition of a dog as well. But well,
it's been in use for a very long time. I'm sure there have been all sorts of things that have gone on there.
Right.
Including families staying there.
Oh, absolutely.
And children, I mean, with that many people dying and dead, that's a powerful force when someone is dying, that type of energy. So who's to say that that's not yet, like I know I kind of half jokingly said the screaming woman could be like a collective unconscious, sorrow from women in general, but it's possible. And the same thing with the children. That could be like all these men thinking of their childhood or their own children that they'll never get to see again as they're dying or in their
Right.
last moments,
Right.
and so they have all kind of put this memory into this space. So maybe it is physical children, or maybe again that last dying wish of these men to go back to childhood or to bring their children to them, and it's just kind of an archetype in those stones.
It's definitely very sad, and I do find, there's some forts around where I live that we've visited, and they're just kind of eerie and historical and cool and sad, and the energy is very all over the place.
You grew up, like I did, in upstate rural New York, where stone fences are
Yep.
common, and we played around them, and the forest in those areas is different. It
is.
feels different. It just has a slightly different vibe. It's old, but it's there, and there's sadness there, and there's I don't know, even if there might not necessarily have been battle there, you can feel the energy be
It's
slightly
definitely
different.
palpable. Definitely
Yes.
palpable.
And I'm sure this place, having seen three times that type of energy, plus the hospital.
Wow.
Whew.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I bet it's a creepy fucking place. The creepiness has had to have seeped into the stones themselves.
I don't know if I would totally buy one of the most haunted places in the world per se.
They're
But
all that. They all have to say that. I would agree. This is not.
I definitely think that this is absolutely haunted, and it's probably beautiful because it's right along the Delaware River, right out near Philadelphia Airport. It's right on the river, so it's got to be like a beautiful. I can just picture this beautiful, like stony fort, but it can't be. I can't say it can't be. I have a hard time believing it's one of the most haunted places in the world. That's a pretty large statement in my book.
Yeah, but 3 wars, 1 place. I don't know. It's definitely, it's got to be a contender.
In America, one of the most haunted places in America.
In America, sure.
I would buy it 100%. But in the world,
yeah, the world has seen a lot of things.
So, 1915, the War Department actually declared it a National Historical Monument. So that's cool. It ain't going anywhere.
Right? We should go spend the night there, and then we can decide for ourselves. We'll rank it. We should go to all these places and be like, a score of 1 to 10, Chelle. How fucked up was this place?
Exactly. Because what they say on their website is that you can go during the day for free. You can pay for an overnight package that ranges from 6 hours to totally overnight. And you have to make a reservation. That's it. And like I said, you're right on the Delaware River, right outside of the Philadelphia Airport. Like, how cool.
All right. I'm penciling this on our list. We're going to go there. Spend the night. Definitely do an overnight. We've got to get.
We're going to ask the faceless man why he's faceless.
Why are you faceless? Why does that woman keep screaming? What's going on?
What
that would be so fun.
To your face? Yes,
maybe
absolutely.
not with a Ouija board, or maybe with one if we're feeling, reckless.
Right.
If we've smoked some of that good weed.
If we want to fuck around and find out.
Then we want to, right? We usually do want to fuck around and find out. That's our problem, I think.
I know.
When it comes to playing it safe or going the route that could have consequences.
Consequences every time. Every time.
That's right.
So that's my story about Fort Mifflin. And like I said, I think it sounds like a really cool place to actually go visit. And we should definitely put that on our bucket list. But as far as spookiness, I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10, other than the part where if you put United States instead of world, hook, line, and sinker. Absolutely.
I agree. It sounds very scary. And it definitely makes me want to get a ghost hunting kit together. Like I said before, I'm kind of looking at how to put together a spirit box and all that. But, I really want a nice little kit. It's something with an EVP recorder, the spirit box thing. Maybe those flashlights that you can unscrew just a little bit and set down and be like, that was creepy.
Is that your spirit box?
I guess it was. No, it was the Google that went off for some reason.
I thought if you were going to say no, that came off of your end, I was just going to stop right now.
It creeped me right the fuck out.
If anybody out there has suggestions for Layla's ghost hunting equipment to-do list, get us by email, thestonedwitcheshour@gmail.com. Laylla needs ideas.
Yeah, what's your essential ghost hunting tool? So the flashlight's right that you unscrew just a little bit and you set down and be like, if anyone is here, touch the flashlight and turn it on. And then they touch it and it turns on and then it blinks off. And you ask them questions and they can blink the light on or off. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, like the yes, no thing.
I love that. I love those.
My problem is I'm always the one that goes, well, why don't we just get a Ouija board instead?
Well, yes, Ouija boards are fun, but these are fun too. So I love the light thing and I love so I need a travel Ouija board. I need a good flashlight. I need a spirit box. I need an EVP recorder. Yeah. So tell me what else I need.
You know what you need? You need those thermal goggles.
Goggles? Can't I just get like a thermal reader? Does it have to be goggles? I look terrible in goggles.
It doesn't have to be goggles, but they're just so much cooler. But like
I could look kind of futuristic, I guess.
The thermal reader where you can see the heat different, the hot and cold patches and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I think, not that I'm any professional here. Don't call me Zach Baggins by any stretch. But I think that those seem to be like that's definitive in my opinion.
That's the go-to. I see a lot of people like to do this thing now, the spirit box thing where you get the scanner and you have somebody in headphones and so they can't hear the people outside and then the people outside are asking questions and then the people hooked up to the spirit box only repeat what they hear come out of the spirit box. So they can't hear you asking questions. They can only say what the spirit box says. And I love that too. That's a lot of fun.
Oh my God. I'm going to try that with you.
Right? We need that for our trip. It's going to be fun. All right. So let me hit some more of this tropical cherry.
Ooh. Every time I hear it.
It's sweet. It tastes so good. You know me. I'm a sucker for something that looks pretty and tastes as good as it looks. Right. And this just tastes so good and so sweet. I mean, I know it's only like a 22% THC, but that's a really good one. That is what most people, I think, would consider high. And it's just a nice, mellow, feel-good smoke. I love it. One sec. So my story this evening takes us to Montana. And I had a lot of fun with this one because it seems like, yet again, I'm drawn into like a haunted location.
Ooh.
It seems like a lot of these places aren't just caused maybe by one act. It almost seems like some of them, something in the area seems off. You know what I'm saying?
Is that why you were asking me if my story had stones?
I think so, yeah, because this particular house was built completely out of sandstone that was native to the area. And it kind of made me wonder if that has something to do with why it's been so haunted, basically from the minute it was built. So let me back up. All right, so the house is the McGillivray house, and it's known as the creepiest, most haunted spot. I kept saying Montana, didn't I? In North Dakota.
Is that where it's at?
Yeah, it's really in North Dakota. My other one is in Montana.
In North Dakota.
This house is in North Dakota. So it's the McGillivray house, and it's the creepiest, most haunted spot in North Dakota. Now, it's also known by the Lion House. And it's called the Lion House because at one time there were two large lion statues that kind of guarded the front door on the front porch.
I love a good lion statue.
Right? Who doesn't? That's kind of fantastic. The whole house is pretty gorgeous. I wouldn't say it is the most ornate house, but it's very large and very pretty. And it was built by a gentleman named Alexander Dickinson. It was built in Dickinson by oh my God, I should not have smoked so much fucking weed. The Lion House was built in Dickinson, North Dakota in 1895 by a man called A.C. McGillivray, Alexander McGillivray. He was a Canadian.
Can I just point out to you that you're going right back to a story in the late 1800s. What's with the late 1800s and ghosts? It's a trend. It does seem to be. Maybe we were, all the building. We say sometimes renovations and everything kind of stir up ghosts. Maybe all the expansion and all the building kind of stirred up the native ghosts of the land. I don't know. It had to have because, the more episodes we do, the more I'm finding this is an active time period. It really is.
It does seem to be a very ghosty time period. You're exactly right. So this house,
Yeah.
right? It was built in 1895 and it was built 3 floors high and it was built completely of native sandstone from the area, from the basement to the attic, the 3rd floor. And it was very grand for the time and it sat on 2 full city lots. So right in the middle of Dickinson and very large house, very large
huge.
lot.
This was a very huge house. Okay.
Very big house, very imposing. And Alexander and his wife moved in before it was completed. Unfortunately, shortly after moving in, his wife of just a few years passed away in the house.
It always happens. Don't move into the house before it's built or the wife will die. It always happens.
It does seem like a bad movie. So she passed away and they had her wake and funeral in the house. And then just a few short years later, Alexander himself, aged just 48, also passed away in the house. Some say by suicide because he was despondent over his first wife's loss. So he passes away and they have his funeral and wake in the house as well. And the house is still not completed.
What was with people having funerals and wakes in their houses in that time period? Are you asking for trouble?
So creepy. Well, I guess until that one guy out on the West Coast that I talked about in a recent episode that hopefully future me will stick in right here. He started like the first, with he started the first funeral home. So at that time, maybe there weren't funeral homes. I guess it was common for people to have like a wake in your home. Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that's making some potential energy stick.
Maybe that's another reason why places were so haunted in this time period, because these idiots were having funerals in the house. I don't know. So local legends said that the house changed hands often for years after that, with no one ever really staying there for long and no one completing the renovations on the house. And then a few years later, a family moved in that seemed to kind of stick. It was a man and his wife and their 2 children, and they started work on the house and things seemed fine. Until one day they weren't fine anymore. The husband snapped. I couldn't find why, but all the legends say that the man came home from work one day, went upstairs to the bedroom, and this sounds awfully familiar to my house, but he got home early from work, got a gun, went upstairs to the bedroom and killed his wife.
Oh, wow.
Barricaded all the doors and the windows with the furniture in the house, took his 2 children into the basement and killed his 2 children.
What an ass.
And then went up to the attic and hung himself.
And they have no reason to know why? They don't know why?
No, I couldn't find any reason why. I could find some variations on the legend, some that said he hung himself from a banister in the stairwell, and some that he hung himself in the attic, and some that he hung himself in the stables, which was in the northwest portion of the property, and it's now converted into a garage.
Let me ask you that, why is that the one detail that's so varying? Is there some relevance to the location of where he died?
I'm not sure, but people do report that they can see, one of the hauntings that people see is if you stand in the alleyway, there are pictures and people have reported seeing a man hanging from the rafters in the windows. So you can see his ghost there. So the relevance is that I guess if people are seeing him in the house, and 2 of the legends say that he hung himself somewhere in the house, I don't know. I guess it just goes to show that sometimes things change a little bit. I don't know if there's any particular reason why it changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but because people see his ghost in the house, I'm more inclined to believe that he did it there. Other than the children, it sounds identical to the legend in my town about the house that I grew up in. There doesn't seem to be any cheating in this story.
Very interesting, though, the similarities.
Right? It just kind of follows a lot of similar local type legends. I wonder if there's always like a ghost house in a town that maybe has a similar sordid type past.
Right.
So the legend says that this happened and that for a few years after that, the house remained empty and then changed hands quickly again. So townspeople after the murder-suicide in the house say that no one could walk past it, even if you didn't know what had happened there, without feeling a sense of foreboding, like a heavy, sick, ominous feeling.
They could feel all the shittiness that happened.
Absolutely. Buyers came and went, and then it was turned into apartments for a short period of time. And there are reports from some residents who say they heard that it was haunted and they never saw anything. But there's also some residents who say they couldn't stay there for very long because they kept seeing a shadow man walk down the hallways that wouldn't be there on closer inspection.
Oh.
One former tenant says that she lived there as a child, and one time they used a Ouija board in one of the rooms. And after that, the poltergeist type activity of things being moved and doors slamming got worse and worse until they eventually had to move out.
See, I think that in any situation, there is a type of people, maybe not type of people is the right way to say it, a group of people that you're going to put in any haunted situation and they're not going to feel a damn thing. That doesn't necessarily negate that paranormal activity, though.
Right, exactly. And maybe they were living in a portion of the house that wasn't as haunted. And maybe some of these people were, because some of the hauntings that people describe is that, particularly in some of the upstairs rooms, you can hear a woman, you can hear first her voice, and it sounds like she's pleading or coaxing someone. And she starts to talk faster and faster, and you can't hear what she's saying, but the sound is more and more desperate and more pleading until she just starts sobbing, and then there's nothing.
Well, that's kind of unsettling, just saying.
Right. But if you weren't in one of those rooms, maybe you would never have heard that or experienced that. You know, maybe in the next room over, you just never get that scary ghost woman.
Right, like some of these hotels that you've done, like the Stephen King Hotel, a lot of that was in one room. If you weren't in that one room, you might not catch anything.
Another former resident claims that, or not a resident, I'm sorry, she was a woman who stayed with a resident as a child. She would often spend the night with her friend or cousins there. I'm not sure which one. But she said that she would very often spend the night there. And it was difficult for her because she kept seeing a man walk into the room and then he'd be gone. She'd ask who the man was, and of course, no one would know what she was talking about. But she and her cousin would report seeing children playing in one of the rooms, and they looked like they were talking seriously together, but you couldn't hear any sound that they were making. And then when you would get closer to them, they'd stop and disappear.
Oh.
Other people report faces of children in the windows, even when there was no children living in that particular apartment. Or even when the house was vacant, there's pictures and reports of people seeing faces of children in the windows. They also report hearing children sobbing in the basement.
That's where you said that the father ended their lives, correct?
That's right. And people report that the feeling of fear and oppressive, like almost like an ominous, like something bad is about to happen type feeling is very, very heavy in the basement. And you can often hear children crying. So
it sounds like this house is just fully absorbed that particular point in time and is just picking up all the death and sadness.
It seems like it. Now, on the opposite side, after it was apartments, again, it stayed empty for a little while, and it was purchased by a woman named Becky Brunk. She says she intended to turn it into a bed and breakfast and spent decades renovating it, and then got married, and she and her husband were renovating it to live in. She never spent one night in the house.
Why?
She says it's because the renovations were never completed. She owned the house for about 2 decades.
So is she, what did she stir up? Did you find out what she stirred up? Because you know it's not about renovations.
She says she's the one who was gifted the lion statues, and she put them out front in an attempt to change the house from being the haunted house to being the lion house, because she claims to never have felt any type of haunting or spirit there, except a couple times when she was there alone renovating, and the feelings of oppressive sadness and oddness would get so much that she'd have to leave. But that's not anything, she'd say. But she never spent one single night in that house.
Interesting.
And she claims that she sold it eventually because the trespassing and the vandalism got to be too much. Honey, live in the fucking house, and that probably would have stopped. Why didn't she live there? And
what kept her from wanting to live there?
And she owned it like not too long ago, I believe till 2013. Don't quote me on that, but it wasn't too very long ago. And I haven't been able to find out who owns it now, but I have seen that it's still vacant. And people will try to do, like they'll walk around outside or up on the porch. And I even saw one amateur investigator called Uncommon Phenomena. They went there and did an investigation and did some EVP recordings outside the house.
What'd they get?
She said, "Is there anything you want to say?" And the EVP came back as, "He hit me." She said, "Why are you here?" And you can hear come back, I live here.
Oh, shit.
Then she says, are you still in the house? And the EVP sort of sounded like yes or yeah, maybe. It wasn't very clear, but it almost sounded like yes. Then it got a little weird. She says, is anyone else in the house other than the family that was killed there? And the EVP comes back, how old are you? I think you're going to let me in.
Okay, now I'm getting a little creeped out. What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. She had a few more. Some were more clear, some not very clear at all, but those were very, very creepy. And some other amateur investigators, I haven't found anyone, well known that has been there, but several local and other amateur investigators have been there and done some kind of outside investigations. And they all get various EVP recordings similar to the ones I mentioned. There's photos of ghost children, like a full-blown, what looks like a child standing on the porch.
Oh, wow.
Along with photos of children in the windows and a man in the upstairs window. I couldn't tell if he was hanging or just a male figure, but it did look very clearly like a male figure in what's supposed to be an empty house.
Right.
Supposedly, the police will check it just to make sure no vandals or anyone has gone through. And they will occasionally get reports of like lights or sounds, but they've never seen that anyone is there or has broken in when they go to check it. However, local legend says that when the police get there to do their random checks, all the doors and windows are barricaded with what little furniture and items are left in the rooms. And so they kind of clear them out and go room to room, make sure that all the doors and windows are locked. Nobody could have gotten in. And they put everything back and leave. And then the next time they go to do a random check on the house, all the doors and windows are barricaded, but everything's locked and no one could have gotten in.
Oh.
So things are still moving even though there's no one there. And I guess at one point, I believe when Becky Brunk owned it, it was turned into an actual haunted house experience for like Halloween for a little while. But from what I could find, they only did it once because I guess the vibe was just too creepy and too real for like the actors as well as the visitors. It was just a little too on the nose, I guess.
Huh.
And so at least that's the rumor that I heard, but it hasn't happened again. I have no idea who owns it now, but it's still empty. Everyone still says it has like a dark cloud of negative energy around it, and it's still fucking haunted as hell.
So it's just vacant?
It's just vacant, and no one seems to be able to live in it for very long.
They don't even do ghost tours?
I'm as shocked as you are. We should try to find out if it's who owns it. We should buy it, Chelle. Let's go live in North Dakota. Do people live in North Dakota?
Yeah, and it's cold.
Oh, well, I don't like cold. Well, you can live in it in North Dakota, and I will come visit you. And I will help in the summertime with the tours.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that's just saturated land. That's one of those that I think that they could tear that house down and probably that same paranormal activity will happen at that location because those folks don't probably realize they're dead.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's the stone. Like everything I could find about the house is that it was built of like this native sandstone. And so they put all this stone there that's basically like a...
Sandstone is native that far north?
I guess. I don't know what that means. I am no geologist. But, you put that there and then maybe it was just bad luck with the first couple of deaths and that just kind of set its fate maybe. Or maybe it was something already in the land. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do our listeners think? Anybody from North Dakota? Have you ever heard of the McGillivray House, the Lion House?
What town is it? What town is it again? What town, North Dakota?
It's in Dickinson, North Dakota.
Interesting. Let us know, folks, if you have ever been to this house, heard of this house, know stories of this house.
Right. And definitely let us know, what should we add to our ghost hunting paraphernalia? What should I put in my little ghost hunting backpack? What's your favorite item? I want to know. Send it in to thestonedwitcheshour@gmail.com. But other than that, Chelle, I think that wraps it up for another Ghosty Wednesday. And I'm out of weed.
I think we were kind of tied. I think we were tied, honestly. I think we both had really good ghosties tonight.
They were two creepy stories. I love it.
Haunted locations.
You gotta love them.
Well, everybody, we want you to stay high, stay spooky, And for the love of God, keep the ghost stories coming.
Please do.
We really want to do book 3 of ghost stories. So it is incumbent upon you. Send them, get them to us. We want to tell your awesome stories because I feel like every time we do these book of stories, we're hearing good stuff from people, and I'm enjoying it and I want more. So send them in.
I agree. Send them on in, thestonedwitcheshour@gmail.com. But that's going to do it for episode 34 of The Stoned Witches Hour.
Holy crap, 34.
Yeah, next week is episode 35. And guess what, Chelle?
What?
I have a cryptid for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's just shocking and surprising.
How fun is that? So next week on episode 35, I'm going to do a creepy cryptid.
Interesting.
And smoke even better weed. Ha!
Well, I wish I would have known this. I would have come up with a cryptid too, but I'm actually going to do a haunted bridge. So for episode 35, we're going to the Poinsett Bridge in South Carolina.
Oh, that sounds fun. All right. So we will see you next week at 4:20 a.m., the Stoned Witches Hour. But for now, I'm Laylla, and this is my co-host, Chelle. And
we got to go get high some more.
Yeah, I got to go find more weed. I know I've got some somewhere. All right.
It's time to go. Yeah, I got to get to my guy.
Yeah, me too. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.